everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I'm here today with a journal that is very special to me that I've just completed. This is a story of Apollo and Daphne. And this journal is special for a lot of reasons. So first of all, I will show you when we get into the flip through what inspired this journal. Basically, it is a 15th century painting of Apollo meeting Daphne, falling in love with her not requiting his love and instead turning into a laurel tree. And that is actually the Greek name Daphne means laurel. And so what I did was I took this to a place kind of like with classic storytelling, where you would get a little snippet of a story like that, or you'd hear a legend about a Greek god or something, and then you could write your own tales off of it. So what I've done is precisely that. In these 5 signatures in this very big book, I have told the story of Apollo and Daphne as I saw it. So I followed the cue of the original painting, that they would meet in a green wood, and Daphne would be living this beautiful green life, and she would meet the sun god, and she would be at first not so intrigued, but she would sort of warm up to his ways, and eventually they would have some back and forth. They would meet, and eventually they would end up going back to his land of the golden sun and falling in love, but it being a little tumultuous, but in the end they kind of find peace and coexistence. So the other reason that this journal is really special to me is I've made it using a new methodology that I'm using to create my own storytelling, my own storyboards, using a combination of my own painting, AI modeling, and digital editing. So I am planning to release, shortly after I release this book, a digital collection that will be around the Apollo and Daphne story, and themes of a tree nymph or a forest nymph, which is what Daphne is, and Apollo, the sun god. So you will see, I won't say every time as I go through this journal, this is my design, because most of it is. I will tell you probably if it isn't, if it's a book page or whatever. So the ephemera and many of the pages, I'll show you a few of them so that you can get a feel for what the design looks like, are all of my own design, including this image right here of Daphne. So all of the depictions of Daphne and Apollo are my own, and there's one exception. I did include the original book page painting that I saw that inspired this collection, or this journal. So in this book, this is a vintage forest book, and you'll see a little more about it inside as well. I did keep the spine that has the title. It's just this beautiful green, and I've had it, and the moment I started to work on this foresty collection, this book kept drawing me to it. I was trying to decide what book to use, and this one really, I just wanted to use it. So the spine also is quite fun. You can see the 5 waxed linen bindings, and then I've taken jute and I've stitched it actually all over this fabric spine. And it goes on the back. The book has its original print number on the back. I've done some gilding around all of the edges of the book. There are black what are they called, brads, that hold this down, and I framed it a little bit with some black, and we've used gold eyelets here. This is some of my avocado dyed eyelet lace. That's what I've used to close this book. You'll see lots of leaves jutting out the sides. They are stitched within each of the signatures. Okay, so let's jump into this book. So these are the end papers. This is scrapbook paper, and it's beautifully gold on green. And then this is the original spine of the book, Roger F. Anderson, Forest and Shade Tree Entomology. And I figured this would be the perfect bookmark, so if you're working in the journal, you can mark where you are. So I'll start by just showing you the beginning and end of the journal, the end ephemera. So beginning, of course, with my design. This is one depiction of Daphne, and that's a journal card that just tucks in here along with the bookmark. And then we'll flip all the way to the back, and we'll see Apollo and how Apollo, being a sun god, he's come into the forest. So not only would Daphne kind of morph to be more of a sun type personality, Apollo would also become more green as they would mesh. And I have made this little tuck spot here, added some jute to just kind of go along with the spine. And so that's what tucks at the back right there. So just to kind of give you an idea of, you know, how the front and the back of the book kind of, they're rooted together, right? I was also inspired a little bit by the forest concepts of mycelium and moss, and how everything is kind of one, like the whole universe is kind of one. So the book starts out with some of this nice sparkling paper to give a bit of a magic look to this first image, which I've created. I wanted to depict trees turning into people. So that's what we have here on this kind of foresty, dark and cool scene. And then here we have a pocket and this journal card, this tall journal card. Forest spell, stay for a while, never too long, secrets we tell. So lots of Daphne energy here. Cabbage dyed paper. This is the smaller version of that cover image of both Apollo and Daphne, sort of kind of not really aware of one another, still hiding in the woods as kind of forest spirits. And then we have a little journal card here of the sun on the forest. And back here is some scrapbook paper with some nice blue trees. Here is the original image of Daphne and Apollo. So the laurel, Daphne in Greek, was sacred to Apollo. He fell in love with the nymph Daphne, who escaped from his amorous attentions by turning into a laurel tree, as in the painting by the brothers Palau, 15th century, National Gallery, London. I'm not going to try to completely pronounce that name. So this is some of my green dyed paper, and this is actually a little bit that I pulled from one of my Journal Together kits, I believe from August, hidden in a blanket of soft moss. So here we have Daphne on a pocket, and I've stitched leaves all down the side here. This page is scrapbook paper with like a golden snake here, a serpent, and some beautiful florals. This is my dyed paper with a little bit of the forest, and this is from a vintage book, and it's illustration of an elm. And then here we have all my designed ephemera. So we have Apollo here as sort of a leafy sun god, really feeling his warmth and shining it on the forest in this tag. Some black walnut dyed paper. This is a poem that I really liked that sort of sets the tone for this beginning of this journal. It's a brighter kind of poem. I love the fitful gust that shakes the casement all the day, and from the mossy elm tree takes the faded leaves away, twirling them by the window pane with 1,000 others down the lane. I love to see the shaking twig dance till the shut of eve, the sparrow on the cottage rig whose chirp would make believe that spring was just now flirting by in summer's lap with flowers to lie. I love to see the cottage smoke curl upwards through the trees, the pigeons nestled round the cote on November days like these, the cock upon the dunghill crowing, the mill sails on the heath a-going. The feather from the raven's breast falls on the stubble lee, the acorns near the old crow's nest drop pattering down the tree. The grunting pigs that wait for all scramble and hurry where they fall. Mossy. It is glossy in another version, but this may be a mistake in transcription, perhaps refers to the green color of algae-laden bark. But since Claire is habitually so observant, his elm actually may have been mossy in the cleaner air of the 1830s. His elm in March is wind-rocked as the rook prepares her nest, and it is dark green in May as people get ready to go to Deeping Fair. The sun was peeping o'er the spreading rows of dark green elms alive with busy crows, and round the lodge that darkened neath their shade, loud was the strife that pigs and poultry made. So it's a little bit of a verse, a little bit of explanation. This is from the Epitaph of the Elm. It's a beautiful book about elm trees. This is some of my yellow dyed paper. And then we have all of my ephemera and paper here from my collection. This is a depiction of Daphne with sort of a trees, her hair like pine trees. And then this is a beautiful wood with sort of like the tendrils of bark coming up into the sky, like trees coming up into the sky. And that is just lots of writing space there. And we have some roots also kind of materializing into clouds. And this is some of my watercolor woods, and clipped on here is an envelope that I made from a book page with one of my depictions of Daphne here. And inside we have this this tree, just some writing stationery, and that just tucks on inside this envelope. There's cabbage dyed paper on the inside of the envelope. And more of those roots going up into clouds in the sky. More of my sunshine yellow paper. This one folds out. This is some vintage gift wrap paper, and this is from a book as well. It's a side tuck spot. This is also from a book of this mossy tree. More black walnut dyed paper. And then this is the first depiction of Apollo, and I've depicted him in a few different ways, and this is kind of, you know, a dreamlike, it flips up by the way, a dreamlike kind of vision. Daphne has many visions of Apollo throughout this book. Some are quite beautiful, others can be scary. This is a belly band that I've made and gilded, and then this is one of my tree images from my collection. Some of my green dyed paper, and then with this page what I did, it was the other side of the painting of Daphne and Apollo, so I've just added a couple pieces of my yellow dyed paper. This is from my collection. It's some fall little trees, and it says ornamented with gold and jewels. This is scrapbook paper and cabbage dyed paper. So here's another depiction of Apollo. And then I've made this pocket. This is another piece of my collection, and I've added it started to rain and rain and rain. And there is the other tree people page, and the other side of that nice sparkly paper. And then we have another depiction of Daphne here kind of peeking as we enter the second signature. This is some Tim Holtz paper. There are a few pages within this journal. I felt like this collection went really nicely with the Tim Holtz paper. This is a pocket that I've made down here with one of my depictions of Daphne kind of in the blur of the misty forest. I've done some stamping and added the word laurel there. This is an envelope that I've made depicting Daphne, and on the back we have a depiction of Apollo looking out into the dark wood. Inside we have another depiction of Daphne, a little journal card there, and that just tucks on in here. Some of my sunshine yellow paper, and then we have a leafy pocket on some of my paper. This is a journal card of another Apollo image. The mountains back here kind of have some faces as though he is communicating, talking a little with the rock spirits about what to do about Daphne. Then we have this page and this little snippet here. These are the roots now coming into the ground. And this is a pocket, another of my Daphne depictions where she has these trees. And this is one of my tags. This is of Daphne being that laurel tree, and I've added some iridescent organza up here. This is a scrapbook page that has some nice silver sparkly and fall kind of colors with a bit of purple, violet. This is a decoupaged napkin and some of my hand-dyed marble paper. Here we have a pocket and a tag from my collection, another depiction of Apollo, and some lovely gold paper back here. And we have another little pocket with Daphne with the trees and some green pages, some inking. And then this is a tag that I made from a book page of this beautiful tree and some book spine at the top there. This is another of my digital pages. front and back. Some of my green dyed paper. This is a pocket I made from some vintage gift wrap paper. And then this is from a book, this beautiful rainforesty mossy tree. This is scrapbook paper and my hand dyed paper. And then here we have a pocket that I've made with one of my depictions of Daphne on some decoupage napkin. And this is a gilded journal card of some tree nymphs that I've designed. They're actually a part of my Seasons of the Ethereal Witch collection, but I felt that they really fit in because they were green tree witch. This is a depiction of Apollo that I've designed along with this page. And there is organza stitched on that pocket. This is from a book. It's all these beautiful trees, and there is more writing space on back. This is a page and a pocket that I've designed, and this is actually from Release the Crafton. It was just an extra print that I had, and I felt like it just went nicely with the trees and the sparkles. This is some of my sunburst dyed paper. This is another pocket where I've depicted Apollo and Daphne as sort of blossoming tree people in a community of the forest. It is on Tim Holtz paper, and this is another piece of Release the Crafton's work. Another Tim Holtz page here and here, and I've used some green paper here, and I've stitched this tree and added a little journal card that I designed here just with some falling fall leaves. More Tim Holtz paper and one of my depictions of Daphne on green paper that I've dyed. This is one of my digitals, both sides, these roots in the woods. Another depiction of Daphne with a tree behind her. And then this is from my watercolor woods painting, and this is a ginkgo leaf that I've attached on this tag. This is scrapbook paper. This is a leaf that I've cut from a book, added some nice crinkly dyed parchment paper behind it. And then this is from my collection. It's just this beautiful yellow tree with some very dramatic energy coming out from beneath it, and this is a bit of gold organza that I've stitched to the tag. This is some handmade leaf paper, one of my collection with the leaves here. The center of the signature, we have this Apollo sun at the center of this fall forest. This is sort of the autumn of their relationship. This is a tree that I've designed here, and another depiction of Apollo looking a little more serious. More of the handmade paper. This is a fabric flip, and we have another sort of a depiction of Daphne but from a distance. More scrapbook and hand dyed paper. More of my digital of the roots and the little mossy woods. Little sparkling forest sprites, and then Apollo sort of searching the forest floor as a little blink of light. And here we have Apollo and Daphne at sunset. Another of my designs on a Tim Holtz page. And then this is from a die cut. I've added some acetate here. It's on a Tim Holtz page. And this is one of my depictions of Daphne and Apollo sort of at sunset. We're now moving into the fourth signature. Yes. This is a pocket I've designed. It says, "Woman of the woods, you won't find me in the trees. Hidden in the mist, I will bring you to your knees." And this is another depiction of Daphne as a watercolor tree. And then this is another page from my collection, the gold being an ode to Apollo. This fall leaves on this cold water, and this is the red sun, and a depiction of Apollo sort of speaking to the sky about, you know, what to do with this imperfect relationship. Another of my sunburst dyed papers. And then we have another poem that sort of sets a bit of a darker tone on this old gift wrap paper. And the spreading lee close oak, ere decay had penned its will to the axe of the spoiler, and self-interest fell a prey. And Crossberry Way in old round oak's narrow lane, with its hollow trees like pulpits I shall never see again, and closure like a Bonaparte, let not a thing remain. It levelled every bush and tree, and levelled every hill, and hung the moles for traders, though the brook is running still. It runs a sicker brook, cold and chill. Another of my page of the little forest spirit lights there, and some leaves. This is all my design as well. So we have this page back here with a bit of sort of sunny, going cold, the forest. And we have Apollo here kind of looking off into the distance and seeing Daphne with the moons here and white sand beneath them. And then we have a darker look at Apollo. Although he's in the woods, he's become this kind of scarier green man. So it's almost as though his life as a sun god is rejecting being in the green so much. And then we have kind of the mirror image here now of Daphne with all of this smoke rising around her. Maybe it's been too hot. It's been too much time in the sun. And we have her, this is like a nighttime forest. That's actually a scrapbook paper. This is my design of kind of these barren hills that are becoming trees. Or maybe the trees are becoming barren hills. That's a better way to say it. And then we have this cluster of some beautiful green fabric, some leaf, silk leaf, and I've stitched some paper that is the same as in the beginning and end of the journal. This is one of my boiled book pages. Another of my design of those roots going from the ground to the sky. And then we have the sun on the forest here. More of the same. The boiled book, you can really see the roses here. And one of my little snippets from my collection of fall leaves there. And then this was just a found piece of ephemera that I thought would be fun to include. It's of the Ontario Badlands, which actually aren't too far from where I am. If it's the same ones, let me see. The artist is Sibelius. It doesn't specifically say, but if this is the Cheltenham Badlands, I don't live too terribly far away from them. And yeah, they're just a beautiful red clay, kind of natural, beautiful place. And then this is some of my green dyed paper. And there's my design of an Apollo who's kind of made of leaves. He's a little abstract, but you definitely know he's Apollo. And then we have those little tree sprites again, and more of that packaging paper, and my yellow dyed paper. This is from a book, and it's on my design, the pocket and the page of those full fall leaves in the cold river. And then this is a little flowers that I've stitched down on this tree from a book page. And then this is both of my design. So we have this very painterly kind of wood, and this is like Apollo as a giant moth in the sky looking for Daphne, and we have some kind of dingy green scrapbook paper behind it, and some of my green dyed paper. Here we have a pocket of Daphne with her sort of tree-like hair, and we have a sunny forest, and then we have Daphne kind of in the dark wood, with lights kind of all strung up on one of Apollo's bows, because he's an archer. And this is another of my digital pages, just of these fun painterly leaves, some of my dyed paper. This is things getting bright again. So Daphne, again, very golden and very much enjoying the sunshine. And this is on Tim Holtz paper, and this is like some of the forest magic. This is like a majestic tree that's also an elephant. Kind of inspired by the elephant tree, which is a beautiful tree that has that name, that is in a graveyard that I walk in often in Guelph, Ontario. And yeah, if you were to see it, you would see why it is called the elephant tree. It's just this gigantic evergreen, and it has a large trunk that comes up to one side that's just beautiful. This is a little fall leaf on one of my dyed pages. This is a sort of a dark forest with a bit of the sun peeking in. And another of my digital pages and some handmade paper. This is from a book page of just some beautiful, a beautiful elm tree with the moon here, and that's on one of my digital pages from the collection. This is another page of just kind of the forest in abstract, just kind of in full bloom, and these depictions here, this is Apollo and Daphne, and this is Apollo and Daphne as well, but this one is bright side and this one is kind of the dark side. And more of my digital pages, the dark woods again. Another of my depictions of Daphne. So it's a little bit mysterious, and it's on this little gold pocket here. And then we have these little lights in this dark and misty wood, and that's on Tim Holtz paper. More Tim Holtz paper and my dyed paper. This is one of my digital pages, and clipped on here we have, this is a vintage illustration of the Dutch elm. And that just has a rusty paper clip keeping it on here. And one of my green dyed pages. And then we have a pocket here with our final little depiction before we get to the end of sort of a bright and hopeful Apollo. And then this is actually a tarot card here, just of Daphne in this little apple tree, and I thought it was very sweet. And that just tucks in there. And final page, and here we have our beautiful Apollo. And that is the end of this journal. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this. It was sort of like my brainchild, my I really got to put a lot of my own sort of design and my own process into making it. So I hope you enjoy it. If you are seeing this video, this journal will be in my Etsy. I'm a little like sad to get rid of it, just to send it off to a home, but I would also just like to share it and to use it as kind of my reason to continue, to know that like what I'm doing artistically right now feels really good, and I just want to stay on a path where I can tell my stories and I can make stories and bring a little bit of my storytelling and my love for literature into my work, making journals. So thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't yet subscribed, I would love it if you did. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.